listening to the Agent Survival Guide podcast, a podcast for today's insurance agents. Informing, educating, empowering, improving the way you do business in an industry that's anything but static. In today's episode, Dawn Myers, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing in the DVBC division of Ritter, joined me to talk about her insurance journey, her wins along the way, and the advice she has for agents. Here's our conversation.
My name is Dawn Myers, and specifically I focus in the Philadelphia and New Jersey market, starting to do some expansion into the middle of the state of Pennsylvania to train brokers, recruit brokers, help to build agencies, and just do a lot of Medicare and ACA education.
Okay. With all of that being said, where you are now, how did you actually get your start in the industry? I always find the answer to this question fascinating because it differs depending on who you talk to.
I'm roughly 25, almost 25 years in. So when I started in individual medical, things were a lot different back then. We issued the ID cards right out of our desk. So we would take the payment and then write on the ID card $25 doc visits or $50 specialists. I actually answered an ad for an insurance company that was specific for self-employed folks. Back then, that was like a carve out. We were able to put them on a particular plan. The marketing for this particular agency was to hang up signs on telephone poles. Literally, I watched my boss at that point drag a ladder out, a hammer, and that was part of my training. So back then you were allowed to do all kinds of crazy things that you really can't do anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. That's it. I don't even know that I would. Is it safe to hammer a nail into a telephone pole?
Right. Yeah. All kinds of stuff. We would hang, signs everywhere for health insurance for self-employed folks. Back then, that was when they were doing underwriting. And so for me, what ended up happening was I ran into a woman who had a hair salon. I'll never forget, Marsha's Hair Spa. And she was diabetic, and I could not get her approved onto a plan because back then we underwrote plans. And so I was so distraught over that experience that I started to dig around to find a carrier that would take her. That brought me to Delaware Valley Brokerage, which, as you know, was acquired by Ritter 4 or 5 years ago. And so I made a lot of phone calls, and I was introduced at that point to Rick Mancuso, who had plans through Independence Blue Cross that did not underwrite self-employed people. And so I was able to place Marsha from Marsha's Hair Spa into a plan and have her insulins covered. And after that, I was very soon hired at Delaware Valley Brokerage.
Wow, that's a pretty cool story. I like that, you really tried everything that you could think of to try and get someone coverage. And the industry was so different back then compared to what it is now, and it's just constantly changing. You mentioned a little bit of this when you were talking about what you do now, but what's your specific area of focus that you deal with today, and how did you get into where you are now?
I love working with brokers, building agencies, and helping agents understand the opportunity. There's so much opportunity to do well in this business, but also to help people. The Affordable Care Act, when that was passed, agents were pretty upset. Their commissions were getting cut. A lot of them pulled out of the market. I think my message with regards to that particular product is, we need agents to understand and to write that product. your average person doesn't understand how to navigate that application, the entire process. So my passion, not only for Medicare, but also for ACA, is making sure that agents understand that there's so much opportunity for them financially, but also service in their community.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. Now, you mentioned working with those people who are either just starting out as brokers or developing their agencies. What advice could you give to someone who is just getting their start in this industry?
It's a very isolating industry, or it can be a very isolating industry. So when I first started in insurance, I worked in my boyfriend's grandmother's garage. I had a desk there. I mean, it was so isolating. So my message to the agents is to really get involved. So if I'm having a happy hour, show up, get to know other agents. You'll learn so much. If there's a training that you see on our events page, hop into that training, ask questions. For me, when my life really started to change, it was when I started to get involved with other agents and view all of us as a team, a partnership. So don't isolate and ask a lot of questions. Show up.
I like that. I always say that the worst question is the one that you don't ask. No such thing as a bad question. For someone who has maybe a little bit more experience in this industry, how would you suggest they take what they're doing right now and elevate those efforts to maybe grow their business a little bit more?
I think we have a lot of just Medicare agents. I believe that the industry is changing and we need to start to look at other products. So adding more ancillary lines, adding again ACA as a service to your community, and starting to look outside of just Medicare. I don't think just writing a piece of business, submitting it, and being done with it is going to be our job anymore. You know, we have to be advocates for the seniors. We have to be able to look up doctors and dentists and navigate claims and really have a holistic understanding to what our job is and what people really, really need. And they need an advocate.
Very true. One thing that I would say, just from the level of knowledge that people have about just insurance knowledge, it's always surprised me that, yes, the numbers are going up as far as what they understand, but it doesn't seem that it is going up in accordance with other knowledge or just the access to technology that we tend to have. I think there is plenty of space in the industry for someone who can explain all of the things that people need to know and help them, like you said, with some of those everyday tasks. Now, you mentioned not isolating yourself and getting to a point where you kind of like are feeling that you are by yourself. You mentioned a little bit about not being afraid to ask questions. Is there a specific mindset or mantra that you live by that kind of feeds into that advice?
So, yeah, I don't stop. I think that everybody in this industry has like a number where they've hit and that they're just done. I'm constantly continuing to meet people. I just don't stop. I don't have an off button. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't have that off button. I'm absorbed. If I'm not sitting with an agent, I'm reading, I'm not taking a break from this, constantly replenishing the book, constantly replenishing the agents. Yeah, that's my, I guess, mantra.
Speaking of that, what is the most recent thing that you have read or watched or listened to that has been really beneficial to your work?
I am a big Stay Paid. I don't know if you're familiar with that podcast, but I like Luke. Big shout out to Luke over at Stay Paid. He has a lot of good, meaningful marketing strategies. I really enjoy listening to their podcast. I like yours.
Thank you.
Big shout out to Ritter's podcast. I listen more because I'm in the car a lot. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the Stay Paid is really insightful.
Yeah, I will say Luke has a very interesting approach. He is able to talk about a lot of different products, but it all comes down to the idea that an agent is an agent, and there are just certain things that you should be doing as an agent. And I think his show is really great for reminding you the things, that you need to stay on top of.
They're also really good with online marketing. So they understand and they give you a lot of tips for online marketing as well.
Yeah, definitely. So they have the social media program. If you're not really sure how to approach content marketing or you don't have the time to do it, you can sign up with them and they can kind of take care of that. That is on the Reminder Media side of things. Dawn, is there anything that you have going on right now that you would like to shout out here on the show? I know you said something about happy hours, events, that kind of stuff. Anything coming up that you want to tell our listeners about?
So I would just say to pay attention to your emails. I know that Robert, who runs New Jersey with me, we're planning to do a happy hour in South Jersey. And that should be showing up sometime in the next few weeks on the events page. I would just continue to check that events page and read your emails, folks. We're sending emails. A lot of people will say, I never got that. I'm telling you that Ritter sends emails. And then if it's something that's specific to something I'm doing, I will take that email and resend it to my distribution list. I will also text you. So anything we have going on that I think is really meaningful, I will text that to you.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for being on this call today. And thank you for giving us some insight. And we look forward to having you back on the show here soon in the future.
Awesome. Very good. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Special thanks again to Dawn Myers for the interview. Head on over to the episode notes for links to find and follow Dawn online, as well as other helpful resources, including more episodes of our podcast. If you like what you heard here on the show today, please follow along with us and let us know that you think we are doing a good job. And if you would like to be a guest on the Agent Survival Guide podcast and share your story like Dawn just shared hers, you can reach out at asgpodcast@ritterim.com, and that link is also in our episode notes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next episode. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. Special thanks to our guest, Dawn Myers. This episode was proofed by Ashley Toomey. Recording and production by me, Sarah Ruppel. Podcast design by Urban Rivera. Like what you hear? Follow along with our show wherever you like to listen.